I think what's scariest to people is construction, because there's a lot of construction risk because something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
But that's where I have, like, this is my secret hack. Maybe it's not secret because I tell everybody, but it's to have like a third party person who comes in who's not your GC, just to go check on the work, make sure everything's like getting done, that it looks like it's good quality. I had another investor do that for me in Cincinnati, and it changed my whole business. The reason I did it is because I lost $25,000 on a property that was done horribly. And so after that, I was like, well, what's the solution? Because the GC basically just like lied on the progress, which is like everybody's worst fear, that they're going to lie on the project or run away with your money. But there's things you can do with like holding back deposits and not paying until work is done, and then sending out a trusted investor who is on your side to go through the work and say, okay, it's been done correctly, like you're free to release that money. Well, hello everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I have a presentation, so I'll share it in a second, all about picking your market and building your team, because those are two of the most important aspects of being successful with out-of-state investing. If you have not met me yet, my name is Soli. You might know me on Instagram as Lattes and Leases. Very fun name. I didn't think anyone would follow me back in the day, but I'm glad to have a large community now. I built a $12 million real estate portfolio in 4 years, so I scaled very, very quickly. Combination of like long-term rentals and mid-term rentals. And then 3 weeks ago, I bought a boutique hotel in Palm Springs, which I'm very excited about. It's super fun, but that is the only property I have in California. All of my other 45 plus properties are all out of state, which is what we're really going to talk about today. Let's move on to building your team, and then we can do questions at the end as well. This is what I used to think of when I heard landlord. I didn't have any concept of what a team was. I just thought that like when a tenant called, you just ran over to the house, even if you were like 2,000 miles away. And so because of that, like when I bought my first property, this is what I did. Like I flew out there, I slept on the floor for 4 weeks. It was very, it was not fun, but I guess I had some fun. At least I vlogged the whole thing on Instagram. But I spent like so much time. This is really funny, like looking back at it, because I spent like so much time, like 12, 13 hours, like picking out the perfect paint color. Not that my tenant really cares. And trying to get like every single thing figured out. And I realized that this was just like not the best use of my time. Like I attempted to paint the whole house, and it took me like 2 weeks of trying to paint the house. And then finally I was like, this is getting ridiculous. I called a contractor in, and they were like, this is bad. Like, we're gonna have to repaint the whole house. And I was like, no, 2 weeks of work. Like, I chose the perfect color of paint. And I realized that, like, literally waste of time. Like, I just should have left it to the professionals. Like, it's not the best use of my time. I am not a contractor. I am not a painter. And so I'd rather spend my time on the places where I am uniquely gifted, and that happens to not be in construction. Which is funny because if you see my Instagram today, we were doing some demo. It was very fun though. But in general, like this was it was a good business experience, because I realized that if I just like could delegate everything out to other people, it was lots of other benefits. One, I could spend time doing the things that I wanted to do, but also like I would not have to physically be there sleeping on the ground every single day and working a full-time day job. It just was like not very sustainable. And so I learned how to actually delegate it to a team. Why is your team so important? The first thing is that we are not trying to build you another job. A lot of people, again, they think they could do all the stuff. They could do it better. They could do it cheaper. Then when they have a bunch of properties, they're like, ah, shoot, now I have 5 different jobs. Like that's not really what we're doing this for. And so we want to protect you from that. Second thing is that if you're investing out of state specifically, you need your boots on the ground to be your eyes and your ears. It is a necessity, because I have not seen my properties in 2.5 years. But I know they're still standing because I get pictures of them and people are watching out for them. So this is who should be on your core 5. Your local investor is who's probably going to introduce you to a market. I've kind of put it on like a referral-based system on the right, and the really accessible people on the left. Agents are also very accessible. There's a lot of them, Instagram, on Zillow, wherever. Lenders, I mean, somewhat accessible, but there's a lot of them. So it's harder to find like a really good one. If you're just looking on Google, it's hard to know who's good, who's not. And so as you get closer to the right, property managers, contractors, absolutely best by referral. Because if you don't have a referral, then you don't have someone who's actually worked with them before. All of these 5 people, obviously there's more people, there's attorneys, there's CPAs, but these are the core 5 people that you want on your team in every single market when you're going into a new market. And the easiest place to start is really with the local investor who could end up giving you referrals to other team members as well. The most important thing to look out for is investor experience. So, like I mentioned before, if your Aunt Sandy is a realtor and she helps people find their dream homes, that's not who you're looking for. You want someone who is investor friendly and has worked with investors. My first lender who I worked with, I will not work with again because they did not know anything about investing and I didn't know anything about investing. And so there were multiple times where we almost didn't close the loan, but I didn't know how to explain to them what I didn't know how to explain. So I'd like have my investor friends try to explain to them what was the loan, like and like different things to calculate. And so if you just have someone who understands investment properties, then they can actually help educate you on the loan process as well. And they'll also have a lot of different loan products to be like, okay, this one is the best one to use in this scenario. This one is the best to use in this scenario. And they can actually become like a trusted advisor in that sense as well. This is my QR code. It's gone. There was a QR code there, Mariah. If you could just put the link inside. There you go. Thank you. But like as I was mentioning, like Backflip is an investor-friendly lender. They're very easy to work with. You can see here that like they go up to 93% loan to cost, which is very high leverage. If you're doing projects, it's minimizing your cash to close. And so for example, like this is me giving you a referral sort of thing. It's very difficult if you are looking through like Instagram DMs or Facebook groups or Google reviews and you're like, is the person referring them a scam? I don't know. Like, I really don't know. But if you can go through someone that you trust, an actual investor who's used the person and who has been successful, it's a much higher likelihood of success. So that's why I think that the best way to find team members is just like really this whole presentation, there's one premise. It is go find yourself a best friend local investor who's going to introduce you to the right team in the right market. And that's going to just exponentially increase your odds of success. It's really like the who, not how. If you guys have read that book, Who, Not How. To be honest, I haven't read it, but I think the title is so self-explanatory. Don't ask how, ask who can solve your problems. And that's like I think it's the better way. You're gonna get much further faster. So this is just like a good, I think it's a really good meme. That was whatever, what you know what I'm talking about. So like this is what I feel like people like there's over 25,000 mortgage brokers, like over 5,000 lenders. Imagine like I was once looking up how many realtors were in Ohio, 30,000 realtors in Ohio. And so trying to find the right one, sure, you can go find it and you can spend like one time I spent multiple days. I cold called 100 contractors off of Google to try to find a contractor to go do a project, a really big project. But like, congrats, it only took me 65,298 seconds. Like, that's a long time. And so if I would have just gone through a referral, I probably would have skipped all of that time. And that's why I feel like the shortcut here is the who's going to be giving you referrals in any of these cases. So this is how I built a referral web. Obviously, if you have investors who give you, investors can give you referrals to lenders and contractors and property managers. I find that if you are not good friends with the person, though, it can feel invasive to ask for their contractor, and they might be like, no, they're my contractor. And so I think a much easier thing to ask for as a real estate agent, for various reasons, maybe might not be buying a property or whatever. I feel like when you ask people like, who's an agent that you recommend? People ask me all the time and I'm like, sure, here's an agent for this market or this market or this market. And then your agent, if they're investor friendly, should also have referrals to property managers, contractors, and lenders. I think asking for a lender from investors is also a relatively easy thing to ask for. And honestly, they get a lot of goodwill by referring people to their lender as well. It's not a zero-sum game. They can share their lender and nothing happens. And so I feel like if you're going to ask for referrals from investors, the best place to start is with agents or lenders, and then use those key team members to then ask for property managers and contractors. Top ways to vet your team. These are some like things that I look out for. Are they responsive in your initial conversations? Are they aggressive in your initial conversations? If they can't start the relationship well, odds are it's not going to go well later inside the project. If you have to follow up with them 4 or 5 times, especially with realtors, actually with everybody, with agents and lenders, a lot of things are very time sensitive. If you don't put an offer in pretty quickly, you could lose out on a deal. And so if they're not very responsive, then they might just not be your agent. As a large part of their client base, investors, again, you're looking for investor friendly agents, or lenders or contractors. Do they have experience in your asset class? And so some people only work with commercials. Like when I was a commercial broker, I worked in office spaces and R&D spaces, very different from multifamily, very different from single family. And so make sure that they have like, there's also like, do you want big multifamily? Do you want small multifamily, 2 to 4 units? And so make sure that whatever you're looking for, that they've actually worked in that asset class before. Do they have experience in your strategy? So this has become increasingly more of an important question, because if you're dealing with, for example, midterm rentals and they're like, what's a midterm rental? Like, they don't understand who your client base is. It could be a little bit more difficult to explain to them what you're looking for. Same with lenders. If they don't work with, short-term rentals or midterm rentals, maybe they don't lend on those types of properties. It's a good question to ask. And then lastly, it's just like, do you get along well? Real estate is a relationship game. People like to do business with people they like. So I guess the other tip here is like, be likable, don't be weird, be normal, be nice. And but also like there are some people who I just don't work with because we don't get along. Like they could be great, but like you just want to make sure that you get it, like you want to work with the person. And there are a lot of people out there. And so I think it's just trying to almost like date the people and figure out if you work well together. And if you don't, that's totally fine. It's not you, it's me. Like then you can go find a new person, and that's okay too. I think you have to remember it's a process. Your team is going to continue to evolve as you gain more experience, as you meet more people. I will tell you that 100% of my team from my first property has changed from like who I use today, and it has changed 8 times in between 4 years ago and today. And so don't feel bad if you like haven't found the most perfect agent yet or the most perfect property manager yet. Like some part of it is just like the hard part is you don't really know if you're going to like them or like working with them until you go through a transaction with them. And so after that, like transaction is done, you've bought the property, you've leased the property. Did you like working with them? Did you not? If not, maybe go around and ask for more referrals. So don't feel like bad if that's the case. I know some people are like, I failed, but like, let me tell you that it's all part of the process. And that's exactly how you grow as an investor. And I probably will have a different team in 5 years than I have today. And that's okay. So having a boots on the ground team just in general means that I don't have to fly out to see every property before I buy it. I actually never fly out to see any property before I buy it. I don't have to spend hundreds of hours trying to learn how to renovate a property. I did that. I watched a lot of plumbing videos and I was very bad at it. I don't have to worry about getting phone calls from tenants at 2 a.m. or ever. I know a lot of people always worry about that when they're getting started investing. I think one of the great parts about investing out of state is it really forces you to make systems and to find people to run your business so that you're not doing it. That means that there's somebody in between me and the tenant, which is the property manager. I'm not having to take calls from tenants. I'm not having to fix problems from tenants. There is someone who is handling all of that for me. And then lastly, I just don't have to be an expert in every area myself. I feel like I have a fairly specific zone of genius, and I'm okay with that. I would rather outsource the things that I'm not that good at to people who are really good at it. And then I can lean on their expertise to kind of guide me through transactions. I find this is very comforting for new people because new investors feel like they have to have everything figured out before they get started. But the reality is your realtor has done this for 10 years before you, and you can lean on them for help during the actual transaction. Your lender, if you have a good one, will walk you through exactly what's happening in the process and how they can help you be successful. Same with your property manager. So even if like you don't have it all figured out, that's okay. The right team around you is really going to help you do that. And so now I'm free up to work on things I enjoy most. I got to like buy my passion project, which is the hotel. I get to spend afternoons doing things like this. I get to focus on my highest value tasks. I don't have to do everything. I'm no longer painting my properties. It is like a hard no rule. I will do it for content. I will not paint the whole property. And then I just get to spend more time doing things I love. So before I could tell you I didn't take a vacation in like years. And so now I'm like can actually like disconnect on vacation. And like that's just game changing how, putting the right people in place can change things for you. So here are some action items for you. Connect with 3 local investors, very important. If that's anything what you take from this presentation, do that because it's going to change everything for you. One person can change everything. And then when you talk to those local investors, ask them where they're investing. Maybe that can help you choose your market. Ask them who their favorite agent is, then you can have that conversation. And then just use referrals to continue building out your team. And one conversation at a time, you'll end up realizing that it's not as hard as you might think. You just gotta get out of your computer and out of your spreadsheets and really lean into the relationship building and all of the conversations, and things really start to move a lot faster. And then when you've chosen your market and you built your team, the fun starts. You're able to actually submit offers on properties, and more offers actually leads to rental properties. And in closing, you got this, guys. You're gonna do amazing. Just go do your homework. I feel like I always say this in the beginning. I didn't say this time, but watching a webinar is not helpful unless you actually go implement the thing. Like just one thing. It can just be one tiny thing that you do. Find somebody on Instagram and send them a message and say, I love what you're doing. What market are you investing in? Something as simple as that could really change the way that you do things. And so please take one bit of action after this, and you'll be at least 1% better today than you were yesterday.